can't tell which is the chicken and the egg. Your product will work really good if Americans stop spreading out so much and get more dense. It'll even work better.
There definitely is a demographic kind of push towards urbanization.
Urbanization, and so anyway, so that's why I'm up here. I think it's the older people in the room should be stewards. Should be stewards of making sure that we fund, we vet, we educate our kids to think this way. That we try everything that's possible, because it's a, you know, what we thought was a 25-year bridge to get there. It looks like it's spreading out. You mentioned the different countries accelerating the use of fossil fuels, and it's going to be a problem if we don't embrace a lot of this stuff.
Well, and I think there's something that Jan mentioned when he came down to visit, which is we've actually in the Northwest particularly, we've had our eye on clean tech for a long time, but it's primarily been on built environment.
Right.
So it's energy generation, it's building efficiency, but very little focus has been on how do we get between the buildings, right? So, and I think to your point of the sort of it's almost the SUV arms race, right? Mm-hmm. If our goal is to just sort of bulk up in order to get safety, it's personal safety at the expense of the safety of everybody else on the road, as well as the planet itself in terms of human livability, at least. So I think as we, you know, and really if you think of, I think in order to really nail the safety thing, we're going to have vehicles that can drive themselves. And at that point, it's picking the right tool for the job. It's not that there's not a job for the SUV. It's just that job is not typically going to the grocery store and getting a gallon of milk. It's so as we look beyond kind of the Swiss Army knife approach to cars and more along the lines of, well, I've got a few different tools that I can choose, then we'll look at the way people actually drive. And all you got to do is stand on a busy street corner and watch the cars going by. And it's one person, 5,000 pounds of steel, one person, 5,000 pounds of steel. If all those individuals were in 1,000-pound vehicles that you knew were never going to get in an accident, I mean, it would just make the basic living experience in the city much more pleasant, let alone, you know, sort of solve the crises that we're.
I was surprised at your price point on your car, the 17.5, because I think that's sort of the price point for the Kia and the Civic and the what we have, the Scion and all those little lightweight. That's a reason. I mean, that to me is a reasonable price for if incrementally we get people thinking strategically of what a car is used for, right, rather than emotionally about it.
Well, you've been thinking about it in terms of the kind of more of the toy price, right? So the price of a touring motorcycle or a side-by-side ATV, in that range where you're not expecting it to be, you know, sort of a full-size car experience, and then the experience itself is very fun. And so you're not only being very efficient when you're getting down the road, but it has a unique and very enjoyable experience as well. So that's sort of the spoon for the sugar, if you will.
Who are you saying your potential buyers of your drivetrain are?
Really, any vehicle, not only, you know, the typical car or SUV or that type of thing, but there's a lot of vehicles in the world that don't run on the road. A lot of off-road vehicles, you know, agricultural.
In shop vehicles.
Yeah, even in the shop inside.
And from kind of an emissions standpoint, if you're looking at it just purely from that angle, many of those vehicles are unregulated for emissions. And so in terms of really moving the needle, if you get into that power sports ATV off-road market, each powertrain that you sell is going to have a huge benefit in terms of displacement emissions.
How safe are they?
The Arcimoto vehicles? So that's a good question. In terms of answering it fully, we've been through one rollover at high speed with driver walked away without a scratch. The vehicle itself is designed with a safety cage, crumple zone in the front, a crumple zone in the back, and then 4-point safety racing harnesses. So when we look at our safety model, we're actually looking more towards race applications where they get into horrendous crashes that they walk away from. So it's marrying both the lightweight aspect with a high level of safety. But in terms of actually saying specifically what is our crash rating, until we've gone through that process, I can't make any specific claims.
If you're going to get more into composites, lighter and lighter materials, could you then turn it into a four-wheel vehicle and compete with the others, or are you really, this the three wheels really what it's about?
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of people who are working on the four-wheel problem. So I think where the idea is to initially carve out a sort of an eco-enthusiast niche around the three-wheel form, and then ultimately pivot into an autonomous vehicle landscape where the efficiency benefits are going to outweigh sort of a perceived consumer adoption hurdle there. But in terms of the basic stability of the vehicle platform, because of how we've designed the platform, it's an incredibly stable vehicle experience. All the weight is over the front wheels, which are also both the drive and the steering wheels. So from a vehicle performance standpoint, it really feels like any car that you drive, other than you've got a lot more visibility and you're centered in the vehicle.
How much of that was driven by sort of regulatory artifact? Is it classified as a motorcycle?
It's classified as a motorcycle. Yeah. So, and I would say that it wasn't specifically driven by the regulatory paradigm. It was more that the regulatory paradigm, this is the only sort of route for a capital efficient company to bring product into market. But the driver, the whole reason for doing the company in the first place was to achieve a next level of efficiency. The fact that it falls into a regulatory category that lets us actually build a product without betting $250 million on it is a nice bonus.
Yeah, given how much of the weight of a vehicle, electric vehicle, and the energy cost is really tied up in the battery pack that's necessary to give it range, I wonder whether it might be possible to combine a platform like yours, utilize the autonomous driving capability technology that you mentioned, but make it compatible with some sort of a PRT system that's based on an extensive but light footprint infrastructure that is essentially an electricity grid that supplies the power along every arterial and major transportation route in the metropolitan area.
Well, there are
cars would still have last mile capability.
There are a number of different groups that are working on inductive charging solutions, so where you don't even need to plug in at all. And some people are talking about actually running power underneath the roadbed so that you're actually charging as you're driving. I think in the short term, at the very least, the ability to pair with existing train lines is huge, right? And if one of the real challenges with, say, even is it the sounder that runs up and down, is that if you're more than a couple of miles away from the nearest station, it's a real, you've got to walk, or you've got to ride a bike, or you've got to park when you get there, or something like that. If you had something to help you cross that gap, even in a very short-range vehicle, all of a sudden it becomes a much more viable solution, more than, whatever, 3%. I don't know what the ridership is of transit up here, but down in Eugene it's something like 3 or 4%, right? So if you can have something that helps you bridge that, and then you've got a mobile device that such that it will pick you up timed so that it will get you there right when the vehicle is there for the long haul, that's radically better in terms of usability than what we've got now. Even just the mobile, I don't know if you guys have used the Google Maps transit utilities, but in any city that I go to now, I can just say, I want to go here, I want to use transit, and it says, okay, go to this corner, catch number 17, it's going to be here then, transfer here, and then all of a sudden, versus having to find that transit website and look up their route tables, and it suddenly makes transit much easier to use. But I think we can take that to the next level, and suddenly it'll be just a real shift in how people move themselves.
Question. Two questions. One was, when I was in high school, which was a long time ago, there was a three-wheel car that a buddy of mine had, it was called a Vespa?
Isetta?